Hello and welcome to the Be Smart About Art show. My name is Susan J. Mumford. For those of you who are watching live today, I am apologizing about our late start. Life happens, mistakes happen. I'm going to do the show in 14 minutes, and I have got three very exciting pieces of news to share with you. No, seriously, I do. For the recording, I'm going to say hello and welcome to the Be Smart About Art show again. So we are talking about three highlights today, things that are happening in the art world. This is the COVID-19 art world era, and things are happening still to this day. In fact, there are all kinds of new initiatives taking place. I was just in an email exchange about an event that I'm sort of facilitating for a number of people in the art market. And it never would have happened if actually if COVID-19 hadn't happened. So I'm not saying I'm glad for it, I'm not, but if it's reality, taking a rational approach, then how can we make some good out of it? How can we see some longer term silver linings? So my three pieces of news for you today, I am going to kick off about the cancellation of Volta Basel. Now, that may not sound like it's very productive as a news piece. I have got information from behind the scenes to share with you, so I will be doing that. The next piece of news that I have to share with you is, I'm just pulling it up now. I've got them all prepared. Right. Yes, it is about the troubling stories behind 5 monuments around the world that came down in recent days and why their removal was long overdue. So that's interesting. And yeah, I'm looking forward to explaining that one to you as well. Because basically there have been major changes happening. And then the last piece is called It Needs Guts. Commercial galleries are reopening. Why aren't the rest? That is museums. And that particular piece comes out of the UK. So let's kick off with, we're going to look at this piece from Volta. So let me share my screen with you so that you can see the piece of news as well. On this particular day, I've got a few things open on my computer, so it's just taking me a moment there. It's interesting, actually, the process that took place in the cancellation of Volta Basel. According to their press release, let's see what they say. They announced on, we've got here in June of 2020, it says Volta cancels the 2020 Basel edition. After careful consideration and consultation with the Swiss government, Volta will not go ahead with a fair in Basel this September. The safety of our galleries and visitors is paramount. And at this point, in light of the current global pandemic and the associated restrictions on gatherings and travel, we feel we cannot stage a strong and safe fair in Basel this year. The fair was slated to showcase 70 international galleries presenting refined and thoughtful showcases of talented artists. And while we patiently wait to commune in person, we encourage all to visit our virtual Volta platform. And if you go to Virtua Volta, what I actually want to do is pull that up for you as well. So I'm going to do that. Let's say virtual Volta. There we are. And just pulling up virtual Volta because it was not hyperlinking in Zoom when I was reading the PDF. So let's stop sharing. I'm going to reshare so that you can see what this looks like. There we go, Volta Basel. So this is what happened when I clicked that link. So virtual Volta. I'm going to go in Basel and then it just goes back there. So that's interesting. I think that there should be an exhibition and it's not currently working. So that alone is very interesting, that I don't seem to be able to access the show. Now, what I know is that they went out to the exhibitors and they basically said, do you think that we should go ahead or not, being that Art Basel itself, the mothership fair, is not taking place. And the galleries, of course, went back saying, well, no, it should not happen because the collectors won't be in town. So it's interesting how they pitched it. It's not a particular comment, it's just to say that the decision-making process taking place of art fairs varies. And I think what we're seeing is that the art fairs are in a really difficult spot. And so Volta's trying to do something on the website, but clicking the link, which I would think would be the link that would work, Doesn't really seem to be going anywhere. Although I've just now noticed virtual Volta, on the top of the screen, and it did actually work. So let's have a look at that. If we go to virtual Volta, there you go. So you're able to see some pieces by galleries who would otherwise be exhibiting with Volta. And if we just find somebody, I remember a few years ago going and highlighting Anya Nos at the Basel edition, an tour I was giving. So that's what happens when you open up the information on that particular gallery. So there you are. Let's move to our next piece of news, and that is going to be about what has been happening with the world very, very recently. So if we look here, what we see is that we've got the troubling stories behind 5 monuments. We are on artnet.com, news.artnet.com /art-world/politics. This particular piece is from the 12th of June, just several days ago. So it says monuments from Boston to Bristol have been targeted by protesters demanding a change. The monuments were made across centuries and continents, and now their time is up, says Katie White of ArtNet News. In the past weeks, as Black Lives Matter protesters made their way through cities from Boston to Bristol, statues of historical figures once revered and now reviled have been taken down either by direct action or through quickly organized official removals. In the US, the dismantling of Confederate monuments in the American South, which is where I originate from, which is interesting, have garnered most of the media attention, though global public ire is mounting against a whole trove of historical characters, from Christopher Columbus to Edward Colston, and with good reason. Oftentimes, the histories of these monuments are far more complicated and insidious than they seem. They do not simply reflect an outdated ethos. Many of them instead speak to the far-reaching cruelties of slavery and colonialism and the present-day legacies of white supremacy. So in this piece, look is taken of 5 recently removed monuments. So have a look at artnet.com, that is news.artnet.com, to find this piece. I'll just show you the images and the titles for the purposes of the show. We've got the monument of Jefferson Davis. That's at Monument Avenue in Richmond, Virginia. That is in the South. It was removed on the 10th of June. That is the Southern USA. Then we've also got a monument to Christopher Columbus. That's in North End in Boston. That was removed on the 11th of June. So you can see it's all really, really recent in the last week. Monument to Leopold II. That is in the Echeren district in Antwerp. That was removed on Tuesday, the 9th of June. There you go. You can see that piece there. And then you've got monument to Mayor Frank Rizzo, City Hall in Philadelphia. Amazing stuff. Removed 4th of June, 2020. And you can see the coloring on there. It looks like blood on there. So what people were doing to the pieces was interesting as well. And you've got the monument to Edward Colston, City Centre in Bristol in England, and that was removed on the 7th of June. So those date back to 11 days ago. I mean, this is all happening really recently, and that's Colston going in to the River Avon in Bristol. This is a significant time that we're living through, not only with the pandemic, but now with the social movement that we are not only reading about, but that we're perhaps participating in. And I'm just thinking for those followers of Be Smart About Art, about how you have been involved yourself or how you might be responding. Those statues, you might consider those to be works of art, right? And art, I've often talked about being an expression of life. And so what I think we're going to see coming out of this period, both in terms of the pandemic and a social overhaul, it does seem as though kind of the world was already going through change, and so now this much needed change is now coming through, and a value of Be Smart About Art is equality, and so we're big supporters of peaceful protest. It's one of the reasons we really like to highlight when artists are creating pieces that talk about equality, whatever way. fairness is my own driving force as a value. As the founder of Be Smart About Arts, it's not surprising that that's one of our principles at our foundation. And yeah, and seeing how artists, what an important role artists play in ensuring providing a visual way of expressing what's happening. If you go back to the suffragette period, and you had one of the Pankhurst daughters who she was an artist, and she's the one who created the graphics, the logos, all of the visuals for the suffragette movement. She is credited as being a really important part of the success of the suffragettes in England, in the sense of she provided that visual dialogue, the visual representation of what they were doing. And a picture speaks 1,000 words, right? So I want people to think about how yeah, what you're doing, and it might be that what people are creating is beautiful as well. There's a great need for beauty in this world and some peace in this world. So it's not to say you have to go out and be a social movement artist, but just thinking about how you create, how you communicate, and how that wraps into this world that we are currently living through. We are living through history in such big ways at the moment. Right, last but not least, we are looking at, I just pull it up. We have got It Needs Guts, commercial galleries are reopening, but why aren't the rest? Now, this is Jonathan Jones, a renowned writer. Was produced on Tuesday, the 9th of June, and he writes, the art world is coming back to life almost unbelievably when so much of the UK remains closed. London's leading commercial galleries all reopen next week. White Cube is to open its Bermondsey space and Mason's Yard branch, while Gagosian launches 3 brand new exhibitions across its London venues. Other galleries due to open on the 15th of June include Christea Roberts, really highly respected by myself, Hauser and Wirth, and Gallery Theodos Ropak. In the struggle against COVID-19, as in a war, we've all suppressed some basic and obvious facts in the interest of the greater good. One is the simple truth that however much energy and ingenuity go into online alternatives to the living presence of art, virtual exhibitions can only ever be spectral, sadly unsatisfying substitutes for the real thing. Very Jonathan Jones. In effect, all the online curators, tours, video visits, and newsletters have replaced art with public relations. And out of goodwill and support for artists, it didn't seem right to question any of it. The sooner this well-meaning limbo ends, the better. Art is a physical and sensual activity that happens in real space and time. Exhibitions are stumbling blocks and adventures. They're events in the world that cannot be replicated in front of your computer. And then Jonathan Jones poses the question, how come commercial galleries are opening when all public museums and galleries remain closed? It's capitalism, baby, is what Jonathan says. These are big businesses. J. Jopling's White Cube and Austrian art dealer Ropak's London space alike are serious concerns with staff to pay, offices to operate, profits to make, and so on. So let's whiz forward to see what Jonathan concludes with. He says, okay, all right, I'm going lockdown crazy, but at least by reopening, London's commercial spaces are inviting, even provoking public galleries and the government to find a way forward. Art demands to be seen for real, not on screen. We need to reopen culture. People are losing livelihoods and creativity is being crushed. It needs a bit of guts and determination now to save the arts. The capitalists of art certainly have that. Say what you like about J. Jopling and Larry Gagosian, but they're not slow on their feet. But what I think is interesting is that I've been hearing personal testimony from many artists saying how after a number of weeks of not being able to get anything done, that actually they were beginning to find a great freedom, that they weren't feeling that they had to be working towards something specific. I mean, I've been hearing phenomenal comments by artists talking about how actually they were trying new things, they're experimenting, they're doing things that they never would have otherwise done because of this newfound freedom, providing they're not unwell with COVID, which some people have also gone through periods of that and then made pieces as a result. There's one artist I know who made really colorful, bright, crazy kind of splashes of paint on these abstracted pieces when she was coming out of COVID. Fascinating. It's food for thought. That's Jonathan Jones for you. Have a look at what he wrote on the 9th of June. That was, as I was mentioning previously, in The Guardian. So have a read. Everyone, it's been a pleasure as ever. Thank you very much for coming along. And I look forward to seeing you again soon on the Be Smart About Art show. Ciao for now, signing out in Lewis and East Sussex. Until next time.